Hi guys, welcome back. This is Matt Chet, episode 544, featuring a look at the classic game Colossal Cave Adventure. Now, I'm joined in this video by Matt Bradley-Tschirgi, my assistant producer, who also had a hand in the development of the 3D Colossal Cave remake by Ken and Roberta Williams. In this video, Matt and I will be looking at that early text adventure from the mid-1970s, talking about how what it did so great that it became such a classic game, how did it influence the whole rest of the genre, and really the industry as a whole. And then we'll get into the 3D remake. Is it worth 25 bucks? What did they do well? What maybe could have been done better? You can watch that part and decide for yourself. But anyway, I think it's a really great game, of course, and it's well worth looking into, and it's still pretty fun to play. Although, as you'll see, some stuff is aged better than others. Anyway, we got a lot to cover here, so without further ado, here is Colossal Cave Adventure.
All right, guys. Hey, Matt. So we're going to be playing a little bit of Colossal Cave Adventure here. We're going to start with the original, right, Matt, and then take a look at the remake, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, we'll start with the original. And for those that don't know, Colossal Cave is kind of like an text of adventure gaming. It's the first, if not the first, one of the first text adventure games that ever came out. And originally, Willie Crowther, who was I guess you'd say spelunker or cave enthusiast, I don't know what the term is, he would go...
Spelunker, right? Is it
Spelunker? Yeah, I guess it is spelunker.
That's somehow not... Is that no longer appropriate?
No, I think it's fine. Oh, that's a nice dragon mug. Where did you get that one from? You've had that for a while.
Yeah, you got a little chipped, but...
Oh, it happens.
I got one of those fancier mugs, but the lid broke, so we're back to Mr. Chippy Dragon.
Yeah, very good.
Yeti mug, the top little glass or plastic.
Oh, those are... Yes.
Like split in half.
Those are...
I mean,
everything has a shelf life.
Knockoff Yeti is what I'm going to blame that on.
Okay, fair enough. You could buy 5 Yetis for knockoffs for the price of the real thing, I think. But
that's true.
So yeah, Willie Crowther was a spelunker, and he wanted to do. He was a programmer and wanted to do a game that his daughter could play because he got his wife was.
I think it's Caver.
Caver, okay, is maybe Caver the word they use now? Yeah, I have to say it's been quite a while since I only did it really once in the Boy Scouts, where you're on your stomach and have like no wiggle room. But I've done a few of the tourist caves where you take like an elevator, like Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. Have you ever been to some real life caves, Matt?
Yeah. So it says Caver in the UK, apparently. The technical term for someone who studies caves scientifically is a speleologist.
That's a good word.
Speleologist? Speleologist.
That'd be a good word for Scrabble.
Spelunker is the term for in the U.S.
I see.
Okay.
Great. So we're in the clear.
I went to Mark Twain Cave on a vacation one time.
Oh, there's a Mark Twain Cave? How is it related to the author?
I can't remember.
Okay.
It's been many years ago. I just remember they take you way down, turn all the lights off, and
right.
Cool dark.
I did some caves recently. Sometimes my wife and I do cruises, and we did a cruise where there was a cave in, I think, Curacao, and a cave in the tropics is weird because it was still quite hot, and they had USB solar powered fans up in the corners of the caves to try to cool people down, and even LED lights so you don't hit your head on the rocks walking through there.
Kind of freak. Even in this Mark Twain Cave, I was thinking, if they can't get these lights back on, I mean, how the hell are you going to get? I mean, because it's twisty and like
in a set of twisty passages all alike. Yeah, back to adventure.
Exactly.
Right, and Willie Crowther, his wife was also a spelunker, and they had gone through a divorce, and so Willie wanted to make a game for his daughter, kind of inspired by his real life love of caving, and so that's how adventure came to pass. And we'll start by playing a bit of the original text version, and then we'll go into the newer version, which you have the background for, Colossal Cave, that Ken and Roberta Williams worked on, and I worked on in limited capacity in the closed beta test, so we'll talk about some of that as well.
Yeah, before you do that, man, I have a little
Yep.
something that might be fun.
Go for it.
I found a video. We're probably breaking their copyright, but I think this is from the national park.
Oh, the real caves that the game
I
is
believe
based
this is
on.
like what the actual cave
Yep,
looks.
that's right, Kentucky. That's cool. Yep, and you got
When we get to the remake, we can compare it.
we can, right? Yeah, certainly.
See how it's like crouched down to get in.
Look at that. Okay. Well, they got the mood lighting. That's important, but stalactites.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome though?
That's really cool, and it's the kind of caving I've heard about that's even more scary than going in a cave is some people do uh, like scuba diving in caves.
Oh my God, there is no way.
So you want to talk about losing your sense of direction? No light and underwater.
Oh
Yeah, I
my
mean
God,
that's
what if so many things? If the flashlight goes off, goes wrong,
yeah,
you're screwed, right? And that's not even getting into like all the breathing apparatus.
sure. I snorkeling I'm okay with. I don't know if I'd ever want to do. I'm sure scuba diving you see real pretty things, but I think that'd be a bit much for me.
Yeah, I've seen in some of the stuff I've seen about actual caving or spelunking, they don't use regular flashlights. They have some type of gas powered thing,
Oh,
or
makes
it
sense.
uses something that's more reliable, I guess is the idea.
More reliable, brighter light probably, and yeah, makes sense. A
I
lot of
think
backups.
I
So you
had
can
like
see
15 extra lights.
all the lights. So you
Top
can
of
see this screen, right? So this is a web
It's
browser
kind of weird.
version.
Let's see if I can get mine looks messed up. Let's see.
Does it? I can zoom in some if you want. Let's see.
Let's see if I can get, maybe I need to go to full screen. Yeah, it's like showing me just a corner of it.
Still just showing a corner.
Let me see if I can fix this standard. Okay, looks like it's working now.
So it looks like a fake computer monitor, but yeah, this is one of the many web versions you can play of Adventure. Crowther did the original, and then the more common version has features and things added by Don Woods, who added some more puzzles, and I think he added more of the fantasy elements. And if we
And that
look,
was easy to do back then because this was like basically on the proto internet, right? And they could just
well,
download
right,
this.
you could only play at the universities.
The code he just added to it.
And you
Don.
got, yeah, Don Woods added to it. There was a few retail versions that they actually kind of signed off on that I think maybe Microsoft might have published that had some additional puzzles that are unique to it. The point being, there's a lot of different versions of this game. Um, but if we look at the instructions, it says, somewhere nearby is Colossal Cave where others have found fortunes and treasure and gold, though it is rumored some who enter are never seen again. Magic is said to work in the cave. I will be your eyes and hands. So it's you have a narrator as a character, and we'll see this in the new version too. Direct me with commands of 1 or 2 words. I should warn you that I only look at the first 5 letters of each word. I mean, okay, so it's a simple parser. So you can do any instead of northeast, all that stuff. And then this beginning is basically the same beginning as Zork, and that's no accident. You are standing at the end of a road before a small brick building. I guess in Zork it's a White House. Around you is a forest. A small stream flows out of the building and down a gully.
That's where it all began.
This is where it all began, and these games didn't really have characters or a plot. It's literally, I mean, the Scott Adams games are like this too, where you're just collecting things, right? Collect all 40 items and get
Yeah, I had to do the help.
score. Yeah, let's see what help says. What helps if I type it correctly? I know of places, actions, and things. Most of my vocabulary describes places and is used to move you there. I know about some special objects like a black rod hidden in a cave, so that's a hint. You type inventory to see, or INV to see inventory. Well, that's interesting. To speed the game, you can sometimes move long distances with a single word. For example, building usually gets you from the building anywhere above ground, except when lost in the forest.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I
Maybe it
wonder if
helps
that's
to,
maybe just for this version.
could be just for this version, but it helps to type in help and see what kind of help you can get, because getting any kind of help in games back then
What about
wasn't for granted.
what about info? Does that give you any the same page?
Info. Um, hmm. If you want to end your adventure early, say quit. To see how well you're doing, do score. For full credit for a treasure, you must leave it safely in the brick building, although for partial credit, just for finding it. You lose points for being killed, for quitting, although getting killed costs you more points than quitting the game. So if you say score, it says, oh, you get a survival score. That's interesting, and certainly it counts your moves because of a certain thing that happens in the game, which we won't get that far. But there's a bit of a time limit built in to the cave as well.
Oh, I mean, it does give us enough info here to at least know what we're supposed to do, I guess.
Yeah, if you type in like map, you don't see a map, right? Or I don't understand that as the standard thing. But if we do look again, look, sorry, I'm not allowed to give more detail. I will repeat the long description of your location. So if we just type in building, you're inside a building, a well house for a large spring. There are some keys in the ground here. There's a shiny brass lamp nearby. There is tasty food here. There's a bottle of water. So let's try get
Tiny
all.
brass lamp.
Got to do the
That brass
Aladdin.
lamp that brass lamp is famous.
It is. You can't even do get all, right? Which shows that's something I used to do in the Infocom games all the time. So you can get keys.
So you can say, I mean, I've played some adventure games so dumb you had to say take, and if you said get, it didn't recognize it.
Well, I mean, you go back to like the first game from Ken and Roberta Williams, Mystery House. There's something very specific to enter that house to begin with. I saw that game on original hardware at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo maybe 5 years ago, and I was sitting there for 5 minutes. How do I enter this damn house?
Like Go House or
Go
something.
house or up or yeah, open enter maybe instead of open door, things like that. So if we do inventory, whoops, you got to
Oh
type
my.
in. You can't do INV. That's the classic shortcut. So it says set of keys, brass lantern, tasty food, look food. That's really so. If I just type in food, what does that do? What do you want to do with the food?
Try
So
to
you
examine.
examine. Yeah, that could be good. Examine food. Wow. Okay. Wow. So I mean, this is like really. I mean, this
Look
game's
at
old.
food. You have to be. Is it?
You can eat the food, but it doesn't. You don't get flavor text or description for things.
Interesting.
You
What
can
about the lantern?
starve. Yeah.
Can you
If we
look at the
type in
lantern?
lantern, what do you want to do with the lantern? Look, lantern.
Yeah.
Nope. Wow. So that's really.
This is I don't think this is the best version of this game.
This is not, but it's a good example of how far things have come, I think, and we can compare it to um the graphic version that Cygnus Entertainment did with Ken and Roberta. So
Oh
no
no,
way to go to that.
that's why those Infocom games were so well liked, because they
Yes,
compared to this, I mean, you could really type a lot of
sure. Um,
small string.
okay, so so we're going down the gully. So you go down gully. I'm in a valley in a forest beside a stream tumbling along a rocky bed. If we do north, I'm back at the building. South, south. Okay, at your feet, all the water of the stream splashes into a 2-inch slit in the rock. Downstream, the stream bed is bare rock. I mean, so these descriptions are pretty minimal, right? They didn't have a lot of storage. I mean, they didn't even have storage. This might have just been on punch cards originally. I have no idea how. And I haven't looked at the source code, but I heard especially Crowther's original source code is famous for being really efficient and well written for how many lines it is.
Well, it's just good practice. I mean, I even in modern games, I don't want to sit there and read a huge, lengthy exposition, right? Just
Right.
keep
I
it
think
short and
of
sweet.
and then oh man, in the Ken Williams memoir, Not All Fairy Tales Have Happy Endings, he mentions for Space Quest 4 that Robin Williams was interested in voicing the narrator. but they decided not to go for him for whatever reason because he was a big computer game guy.
Yeah, why the hell?
Isn't that strange in retrospect?
Yeah, that if they'd have done that, that would probably still be a best-selling game, or at least
I think so. And I mean, instead, the narrator they use is
I
great.
guess you
Like
get
Gary
five.
Owens, right, who did all the game
Oh
show
yeah, it was still great, I guess. I
stuff.
feel
But
like Robin Williams probably would have been I don't know. I don't want to knock
you know,
the
you never know. But it's so here we're at we have to get in the cave, right? It says we're in a 20-foot depression floored with bare dirt. Set into the dirt is a straw and steel grate mounted in concrete. A dry stream bed leads into the depression. The grate is locked. So we
yeah,
have the
specific
keys
things
from the
like
house.
2 inch lid,
Does
a
it
20
does it
foot.
understand unlock grate? It does. I'm surprised. Okay. Open grate. It was already unlocked.
Uh,
Okay. Well, unlock doesn't mean open, but okay.
right,
Enter.
right.
Yep. Uh, you're in a small chamber beneath the 3x3 steel grate to the surface. I assume that's feet. Doesn't say the units. A low crawl over cobbles. That's not a bad alliteration. Leads inward to the west. The grate is open.
That's part of the style. See, I would have probably just said beneath a small still great, but
Well, that
I
wouldn't
know
be.
people I know
Yeah.
people that are like, no, it's 3 by 3. It's 20 inches. It's
Yes, yes. I mean, there's.
And I'm surprised it's not meters.
Right. Turn on lamp, I guess.
Uh-oh.
Use lamp.
Light lamp?
Yeah, light. Oh, lantern. Use lantern. Turn on lantern.
I
On.
don't know the word use.
On lantern works. Or it also lamp.
On lantern.
The lamp is now on. Look. So we go to the west. I believe if you have the lantern off and go too many steps, you fall down a pit and die. And that's kind of the time limit is the lantern only has so much batteries or oil, and you can get batteries later if you want, but it lowers the score. Um, so
No, I
looking,
heard
there's a
about this.
wicker cage nearby. Look cage.
Do you ever
Open
get a
cage.
perfect score on this?
No, and I got close to getting a perfect score when I was testing the new one. You have to get the cage for a puzzle. Okay. I like when you say get cage doesn't say you pick up the cage. It's very heavy. It just says okay. It's not much of a.
It doesn't tell you there's a bird on. There's no bird in it.
We have to get the bird to put in the
Oh, that's
cage. East. I see. Oh, we have to go west. Okay. West. You're in a debris room with stuff washed in from the surface. A low, wide passage with cobbles becomes plugged with mud and debris here, but an awkward canyon leads upward and west. A note on the wall says magic word XYZZY. A 3-foot block rod with a rusty star on an end lies nearby. On an end? Wouldn't you say like on the? That's awkward.
and
And on its end, maybe
ah,
on either end. No. So XYZZY transports you to the building.
hmm.
And if you do it at the beginning, and if you do it again, does it take you? Yeah, it takes you back to where you were. So
Oh,
it's a teleportation spell. So I think this is a good point to stop with the text version, and we'll switch to the graphics. But so far, looking at this text one, I mean, you've played this, but it's been a while. It said when in 22 turns we have a score of 36. And if we quit, I'm just curious if it says like you're a magic adventurer or something. It doesn't give us. Some of these versions will say like, "Oh, you're a AAA adventurer" or something, if based on the
hmm.
score. But this just says game over, 0 treasures, a score of 32, with a survival score of 30. So
But I mean, it's easy to look down on this now, but if you think about Roberta Williams, was it like
right.
early 80s playing this and
And
like
she just, they got married pretty young. She just had a kid. She was stuck at home an infant. She was stuck at home all day, so she got stuck, hooked on these computer games, and
and I
that's how
mean
it all
think yeah, like
started.
Pac-Man and stuff like that in the arcades, and think how different this is.
Right, you're using your imagination like you're reading a book. It's interactive. They didn't have I don't think they had helplines for stuff like this, although maybe they did. I mean, what the apocryphal story with the old Sierra games is the hint guide sold better than the games because of how widely they were pirated, right?
Well, for this, they would have had the source code, right? Couldn't they just looked at it and,
That's a good question. Or did you
oh, what was it?
compile it?
I think I saw.
Could have been. Yeah, probably something like that. But if I stop sharing, I will now share the. I think this is the 2.0 version. This is the latest release of Colossal Cave. And can you
I
see the
don't think
graph?
Roberta would ever have looked at a hint line.
No, I think it's just brute force and
Yeah, she was.
notebooks, thick old notebooks full of notes and maps. So did you can see the graphics? Is that right?
Yeah, look at that.
So, and I would say, as it was fun to be invited in the closed beta for this.
Yeah, you got
And
to
on,
talk about you. So you played a role in this.
I did. I'm not credited because it's just a closed beta tester thing. But yeah, I did play a role on the 1.0 version of this on PC and also on the iPhone version. I did a little bit of testing on that as well. And this, I think the launch price was something like $40 or $30. It was a bit high. I think they lowered the price later on. But it was also Ken and Roberta were retired from the gaming industry for a long time and just went around the world on their yachts and boats and things. And so part of that is they founded a new gaming company just to do this. And I think that's kind of beautiful that like the very first game Roberta played, she decided to remake.
Well, I was learning about this because isn't it kind of like they destroyed this genre?
Oh, the text adventure? Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
true,
like
right?
destroyed this. She loves this game, so then they like annihilate Infocom with their graphical games. And
Over time, yeah.
that's
And
good.
it's
I want to ask this.
even Mystery House had graphics, right? That was a big
Oh yeah,
pull.
yeah.
They had the expensive
Infocom was like so resistant. I think Infocom was foolish for being so resistant to
they
putting graphics.
right, they waited too long, I think, and they also invested a lot of money in some kind of business software that didn't really go anywhere.
Oh,
Um,
Stone or something like that.
right. So here, we'll just do a new game. But if we go under more, I think this is you can learn about the game, about Cygnus, the
Dude,
credits.
I wanted to know if they gave any money to like Woods or Crowther.
I don't think so, but they did show it to Woods or Crowther. They showed it to one of them, the VR version on the Oculus Rift, and they there's footage of that somewhere. That's fun to see. If we do help, they have there's all these kind of things like a reference card. So this is kind of they used to sometimes I'd see them called feelies or something, but when you would get the old Sierra games in the big box, they'd have all these things, and sometimes you'd have a reference card with the controls, and this you control with the mouse. You can also do with the keyboard if you want.
Inventory. So you click on the mouse wheel to get your inventory.
Yeah, with the right. Um,
That's interesting.
and it's also first person, which I think is interesting too. So we'll see that as we get into the game. What is this menu? Oh, and so they have these kind of tutorial things because people were getting confused early on about how to control it. They used to have easy mode and hard mode for controls. I haven't played this latest update, so it's sort of demonstrating in this video um, how this works. If you want, you can invert the view. You could make the locomotion just keyboard, I suppose, or do key bindings. Not that it's too complicated. But if we go back, we should get started with the game itself. Can you hear the sound on the game?
I'm not hearing anything, but
Maybe
that's a,
not. Okay, there's not much sound anyway. But here, so this is something like this wasn't in the. They added this again for kind of ease of use. This wasn't in the original version I tested, but it says the full game. Do you crave a challenge? Tackle the full 350 point experience. And warning, once you pick one, you're stuck with it for this particular save game. Or casual game means you explore the game without the hassles. You don't have the dwarves that randomly attack you or pirates that steal your inventory. Most puzzles and some dangers remain, and you start out with a full set of maps.
but no achievements.
No achievements, no, you can't get the full 350 points, and you don't get the complete ending, which we don't have time to get to the ending, but there is a full ending like there was in the at least in the the more modern or the second version of the game that were playing. There's an ending that has like explosions, and in this version from Cygnus Entertainment, the ending uses the what is it, the music theme from Monty Python by John Philip Sousa, that's used as part of the ending for the music.
Well, it's well worth it for that.
Yeah, so we'll do the full game.
Oh, you're going full game.
Full game, and we'll do instructions because we did that last time. Taking instructions docks you 5 points. That's funny. But will allow you to spend more exploration time because your lamp light will last twice as long, which is fine.
Oh, jeez.
So they're really doing a few different
This is
difficulty
like telling a
levels
classroom
here.
of students that I'll dock you some points if you read the syllabus.
Right, or there's the I've never had a classroom that has done this, but I've had professors tell me a story many times. Maybe you've done this yourself, Matt, where you have your first pop quiz in your class, and it has questions and answers, and all it has is a set of instructions that says put your name on it and turn it back in for a full grade.
I haven't ever done that.
Oh, I'm curious to see how many people would get the 100% and how many people would, go into autopilot and
I have
read
put
it.
some ridiculous stuff on the syllabus just to see if anybody reads it.
Does anybody read? Some people must read it, right?
Some people do, but they're the type of people that don't like humor.
Oh,
So
so there's narration. I don't know if you can hear it, but they use this
yeah, well, no, we got to try to figure out this hearing. Why weren't you hearing anything?
there's something with the sound.
Maybe do stop your share and restart it, and I think it gives you an option to put the sound on.
Okay, let's see. Oh, share a computer sound here. So now it
Take
should.
me with you,
Do you
There
hear
we
it?
go.
and I will be your eyes and hands. Keep watch on your compass. It will guide you through the cave. I know of a few special objects, such as a black rod hidden in the cave. Take these objects and carry them in your inventory, which will show you the items you're carrying. Some objects have side effects. For instance, the rod scares the bird,
It's a hint.
and usually people unsuccessfully manipulating an object are attempting something beyond their or my capabilities, and should try a different tack.
So they wanted to be faithful to the game, and when we go in the different rooms, the narrator just reads the descriptions, which are exactly the same as the original. And yet here, with the tutorial stuff, they have some creative license, and they had a real challenge because, as we saw playing the text version earlier, the descriptions are really sparse, right? It's like there's the cave is dark, there's junk here, or there's
Awkward caves or something like that.
right, or there's a river. So I mean, to take that challenge and to do it in as a first person game with polygonal graphics, where do you even begin? Where do you even, right? How do you translate that? You're going from text to graphics. You're also doing first
This is where
person.
I was kind of intrigued. What I would have done was I would have
Yeah,
done the actual Mammoth Cave and just taken the photographs and used those for my.
like
Yeah.
Mist. You mean
Yeah,
like, yeah. Yeah, that's certainly a valid approach, and
'cause
you
this
could
is
add
based on
those.
a real cave system in Kentucky.
That's right. That's right. Yep, we were watching the video of it earlier. So yeah, that's a great point, Matt. I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of the decision to make it support the Oculus Rift, the VR stuff, made it take a lot longer to develop, and it also means the graphics had to be of a lower fidelity. Not that the graphics are bad, but just the
Oh.
specs are more limited on those devices.
Have you tried the Oculus?
I've tried the Oculus. I haven't played this game on the Oculus though. I don't own one, but I've been to some demos at different stores in town, and that tech has come a long way. I mean, I played Pterodactyl Nightmare at Dave and Buster's in the mid '90s, where it was these you paid $10 to play 2 minutes, and you have little handheld controllers, and you're shooting the pterodactyl or the other players. And I just found it, it's less disorienting than it used to be. I love that some of the devices are wireless. Um,
Oh, they got a wireless one.
they got some wireless ones I think that are lower specs, but even if it's wireless or not, you have to kind of mark off or be present of where you're going because there's all these videos of people falling over playing these things, or knocking over the TV or the monitor, whatever it is. So I have not played the VR version, but when they did the different conventions and things, Ken and Roberta would have the Oculus Rifts and watch people play it and take notes. And people, like when the bats would approach you in the cave, people would sometimes scream, and it adds a lot to the immersion from what I've heard.
I bet.
So we're gonna start, and they can track up to 3 unique maps. That's something it didn't originally ship with. It can auto map, which I would recommend. And if you played the game previously, we're going to clear my map file.
Such a
and
nice little thing
make
there.
a new one.
So if
Which
if
one?
you're playing this with your family or kids, or something,
Yes.
that's
The
something
own
like I
maps.
bet Roberta came up with that.
I bet so too, and I bet a lot of feedback from the original game. It just it had a few of these options, but it sort of fewer in there. And I think there's a whole generation of players that this might be their first adventure game, this new version of the very first one. And the joke I kind of came up with describing it to someone is these old games would like kick you down the stairs and just see how you did. You got no tutorial, you had nothing. You just had to fail your way to the top, I guess. So different era, and we're going to start. And here we go.
You are standing at the end of a road before a small brick building. Around you is a forest. A small stream flows out of the building and down a gully.
So some of this 2.0 version, it has graphical enhancements. Like you can see these little, I don't know if they're fireflies or little white things flying around. There's more atmospheric sound effects with the birds. That was not in the game originally. At the top, you have the compass, which of course is useful. And if you press M, you see the map, which is...
Oh, that's a good looking map too.
Right. And it'll show where items are. If you find items, it'll show them on the map. It gives you the cardinal directions, right? So that's cool. Oh, let's resume.
Can you make notes on the map?
Good question. Let's see. No.
It's like a little hand over there on that map.
Yeah. There's... And the map, you can kind of cycle between the different sections of the game. So I'm moving with the... I used to have an easy and a hard moving method, but this just kind of... I guess this...
I think the zoom is making it look... Because probably on your end, it's probably really smooth motion, right?
Yeah, is it sort of chunky?
Yeah, it's like 2 frames per second over
okay.
here.
No, I assure you it's faster than that. My computer's not that bad. So we're going...
I'm just letting people know it's not this clunky looking on.
Right, so we can see some...
Oh, there's the grate that we were opening, right?
Nope, it's different grate. But we're in the room with the different items. We have the...
There is a shiny brass lamp nearby.
The
See,
lamp.
they call it a lamp. There's a lantern.
We can do
I can't play this. I can't play it. It's a lantern.
So if you hit the
Brass
I key,
lantern.
this is inventory.
Brass
And if you select
lantern.
it, you can
Is
turn
it a
the lamp-
lantern or is it a lamp?
Yes.
Brass lantern.
But if you select something,
Brass
you can turn
lantern.
it on, you can use it, you can drop it. These notes on the
Brass
side,
lantern.
I think is a result of a comment I made. I got so stuck on a puzzle in the very first version of the game I played on the closed beta. They added this, like where you find X, Y, Z, Z, Y, it just is added here and you can click on it to cast the spell.
Oh, that's nifty.
So, as
With
you
this
said, you
game,
can't.
can only carry, what, 7 things?
That's right. And there's a lot of going back and forth to drop things off here, which is how you get the most score.
Does the text game have a limit on how much you could carry?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Probably. There's the food.
There's no use for that here.
This is for a specific puzzle where you find like a priceless vase, and if you don't put it on a... Oh no, you have to get a pillow, put the pillow in here, and put the vase in the pillow, otherwise it breaks.
Oh, jeez.
And there's the
Notice
key.
you've got that little hand on your screen.
Yes, so with the right mouse
And
button,
there is some way to get rid of that.
the hand?
Yeah, it's like a little glitch, I think.
Oh,
Extra
maybe.
one over on the right.
I'm not seeing one on the right. I'm just seeing...
You
This
don't
is
see
an
a-
eye.
You don't see
In
a
the
white...
center,
Oh, never mind. That's on my. Oh my God. Never mind.
Okay.
Continue.
But you can see here the icon, right? If you right click, there's not much verbs, right? There's just pick up or look.
Yeah.
This thing they added in the 2.0 version, and if you watch it, it's like a whole 10-minute video of Roberta Williams talking about Colossal Cave and about the original designers. And you can pause it or fast forward. So we're not going to watch
Hi,
this,
I'm
but
Roberta Williams. I've had a
I
long
like that
and
this is
very
here.
rewarding career designing mini adventure
It's a
games.
good touch, I
Since
thought. It's kind of like director's commentary.
It's like director's commentary. I wish this game had a commentary mode. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, it says 27 out of 350. That's the points.
Probably got 100 points for what if you watch the whole Roberta Williams.
I think you get something for watching all of Roberta Williams, and that it was a video reminded me a little bit of oh, how do you put it? It reminds me a bit of the Phantasmagoria, right, or some of those games with the full motion
Yes.
video.
Yeah, they were pioneers in that too.
They did a lot. If you hold down the shift key, you can run a little bit. I don't know if that makes it more choppy or worse. But you're
It's
following.
choppy on the Zoom, I think. It might be fine in the recording. But in any way,
we'll keep our fingers crossed. But as you can see, part of what they did, like in the text game, in the original, it's pretty quick to move around. But here, there's a greater sense of space. It takes longer to get from each room to the other. Because if you know the commands, like you can beat that original game in like, I don't know, under 5 minutes.
oh, there's the great.
There's the great. The great. So if we...
The grate is locked.
Bring up
Set of
text
keys.
marker.
using...
You have unlocked the grate.
Oh, they know the word using.
You know, yeah, no, it, it knows more than the real game. And here we're going to go... I don't like that the loading screen says,
You're in
please
a
wait.
small chamber beneath a 3x3 steel grate to the surface. A low crawl over cobbles leads inwards to the west.
So that description is exactly the same as the original, a low thing of cobbles. And we can see there's some visual storytelling here. It says keep area clean. So what does that mean? There must be people that work here, right? And there's a trash can. Now you can't find items in the trash can. I think if I were to do this game, and I'm not trying to criticize what Ken and Roberta did here, just throwing out ideas, it would have been fun for it to have more of a plot, because I think people are kind of expecting that, and it's such a faithful remake of such an old, classic game that people were sort of expecting more of a King's Quest kind of experience, even though that's never what was advertised. It's Colossal Cave. You're just in a cave collecting stuff. It's faithful, I think, to a fault almost.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And some of the reviews on Steam, you can tell the people's ages, I think, by the how many stars they give it.
I just don't know how many people would have, if they had added that stuff.
Brass
Would
lantern.
be criticizing it.
The
for
lantern
that.
is now lit.
People will criticize no matter what you do. You can never...
I just don't think there would be as many people criticizing it for that.
Right. I think, and...
Not that there's, I don't know I haven't looked at the reviews of this game in a while. Is it mostly positive or overwhelmingly positive, or what's the...
I don't know if I'd say overwhelmingly positive. I'd say it's sort of mixed. If you go to Steam, you can look at some. That's a good question, though. But I recall, especially when it launched, the reviews from closed and open beta testers. I mean, I have a review in there even, but were from influencers and stuff were kind of all over the place. A lot of people just confused as to what this was. Right?
It's very positive.
Is it? Okay, that's great. Good to hear.
That's just a step below overwhelming, I think.
Yeah. So we can see.
Oh, there's the bird cage.
There's the bird cage, and we can see
Wicker cage.
limited inventory. And if we look at the map, this is the upper cave map. Now, it doesn't show where in the map you are specifically, which is kind of weird. There's not like X marks the spot for where but you can, it's different maps, right? So this is the forest, and you can see, oh, this little sketch is, that's the house, the brick house.
Hmm.
There's an owl. Look, there's the grate. So that's stuff that didn't used to be in there originally, and I think it adds to it. I agree, it's a little strange. You can't type directly on the map. I think that would have been nice.
I like the way that they drew these.
It looks hand drawn, doesn't it? Right? It's not.
Cool.
It's not like a. I mean,
And this
a lot of.
I wonder if there's like the beginner mode. I wonder if maybe that map might be different.
You want to try that out? Or you want to
Yeah.
keep going?
Well, I think we should keep going. Maybe somebody in the comments can chime in if you played the beginner mode. I'm just curious if you can put notes on the map or it shows you where you are.
The beginner map, I think, mode has all the maps filled out for you already.
Oh,
So we can see here I'm supposed to go west, and this cave is obviously bigger than just the sort of text descriptions we were doing. And so I'm not going west. I always find this a bit tricky, like, because you're just looking at, like, Roberta mentioned this in some of her interviews, but it was difficult to extrapolate what these rooms in the cave are supposed to look like, even though it's based off a real cave. And it's how do you do some kind of visuals? What was that?
I like the way they did it. It makes you feel like that sort of claustrophobic.
Yes, certainly.
Creeped out feeling. They nailed that. I mean, just like how uneven the floor is.
Yes, that's very nice. And we can see, where are we going? Here we go. Oh, yep. So the graphics are pretty dark. We can see here, this is the XYZZY. And if we look at it,
It says Zizzy.
Zizzy, and if you go into inventory, there's Zizzy,
Zizzy.
and you can click on this,
Zizzy.
and it'll take you back to that room.
Zizzy.
Zizzy. I like that the narrator is British. I don't remember his name. If we go down here, this is the famous black rod. And we can see there's tires. But if you look at it, it doesn't say there's a tire, right?
You are in a debris room filled with stuff washed in from the surface.
Oh.
A low, wide passage with cobbles becomes plugged with mud and debris here. But an awkward canyon leads upward and west.
So this is word for word the same as the original with these descriptions.
Kind of things bother me just as somebody who plays a lot of adventure games because I'm always like, why can't I pick that up? Why can't I look at that?
And then you have things like Space Quest where they had like smell as an icon and everything had a smell description. Think how much fun that would be to write. I mean, I think that'd be fun to write, but at a certain point you're probably tearing your hair out. Okay, what do I say?
Well, I think I wasn't paying attention, but the stuff that you can interact with, doesn't it light it up or highlight
it
it?
Does, yeah, it kind of shimmers, which is useful.
Yeah,
And
that's
here, I mean, this is sort of nice. You can see it's like moist and glistening, like a cave. Here, if you fall in here, you die. You can be, I think the narrator can revive you up to 3 or 4 times and something like that. Oh, there's a bat.
Yeah, this is getting creepy.
This is getting creepy. I think this is one of the more effective areas of the game, I think, is because it looks like a real cave and you get the sense of how dark it can get, like what you're saying before.
Dangerous.
And dangerous, yeah, that too. So we'll get to some puzzles here. Oh, we got the bird.
The bird was unafraid when you entered, but as you approach it becomes disturbed.
So the bird flies away. We need the bird in the cage, and it's scared scared of the rod. So you have to drop this, go into the bird, use
Wicker cage.
the cage,
You have captured the bird.
and now it shows the
Little
bird
bird in a cage.
in the
That was
inventory.
easy.
Yep, that was easy, but
Now you gotta go pick up the rod again.
and I almost have everything
Black
filled.
rod.
So
I wonder if this one. Is the snake anywhere close by?
yes, yeah, we're gonna get to the snake.
Yeah, let's get to the snake because there's a thing where I think if you open the cage at the right moment.
I see. We have to go through the bird chamber. Right. Okay. So we gotta go past the bird chamber, and we get to the Hall of the Mountain King. There we. Oh, really tiny passage again. The claustrophobia.
Well, I like what they did with the bird. See, like the light coming in on it. You really
Yes.
see it?
At your feet is a small pit breathing traces of mist. A white mist, usually water, seen from time to time in caverns. It can be found anywhere, but is frequently a sign of a deep pit leading down to water.
We
So
can
learning
look-
some real life.
learning some real life things, and I like how the map is broken up into little mini maps, because if it was a really big map you couldn't read it that well. So it
Go back
again
to
we
that.
can
Go back to that mist map for a second.
yeah
Look at the way they made the font there. Mist.
yeah, isn't that nice? Just the handheld
Nice little touch.
handheld touches there.
And what was up with that thing you just passed by?
Let's see, this was a
Is that like a monument?
kind of a archway.
It's ruins, right?
Yeah, it's ruins.
It's like some kind of inscriptions or something on it.
But you can't read it.
You're at the east end of a vast hall stretching out of sight to the west. There are openings to either side. To the north, a cold wind blows up from a wide stone staircase leading downward. The hall is filled with wisps of white mist swaying to and fro, almost as if alive. Rough stone steps go upward behind you, and an upward scramble to the south leads to a chamber.
Oh, that's cool. It looks kind of obscured a little bit.
It does.
A little dwarf.
Uh-oh.
Watch out!
But he's not going to kill you initially. But those guys appear randomly, and if you don't immediately
Black
use
dwarf's
your axe on them, they can kill you and you'll die. So we're going to get to that snake puzzle. And this almost looks Egyptian to me, I think. You have kind of the yellow
Yeah, Mayan maybe or something.
Mayan, could be that too. With and this isn't like an English or cuneiform or... So, and this is what I mean by visual storytelling, is that they didn't want to change descriptions, but they wanted to have it look like lived in and have different areas have a feeling to it. Later on, there's a room with like you climb a vine to a giant, to kind of Jack and the Beanstalk kind of puzzle. Oh, and we got the music.
All in the Mountain King.
Yeah. So there's not much music
You're in the
here,
Hall of the Mountain King,
but
with passages off in 5 directions.
I mean, this looks like Venus of Willendorf, sort of.
Yeah,
A unibreasted version.
very scandalous.
Yes. Should have been MA rated, right? I mean, if Leisure Suit Larry was in Colossal Cave, what would he do to that statue? One on the,
Isn't that whole thing something to do with fertility?
yes. Yep.
That looks a little bit Stonehenge-y.
It does, it does. And there's a few of these, and you get to see dwarves.
A
Oh!
huge green fierce snake
There we
bars the
go.
way.
So
Black
now
little bird in a cage.
we use the bird on the snake, and we get a cut scene. There's not many of these.
The little bird attacks the green snake, and in an astounding flurry, drives the snake away.
What do you think? How logical is that puzzle?
Not very logical. I mean, it's not logical either that the bird is scared of the rod. There's no way you would know that. But I think Computer Gaming World had a really great editorial one time, and they called puzzles like that, guess what the developer was smoking puzzles.
The crack pipe puzzle.
Crack pipe puzzle, right. And it's really hard when I've done some game design, and as of you, I think you did a text adventure a long time ago, didn't you?
Oh, a long
Independent-
time.
Long
I'm
time
working on some
ago.
wine stuff now, but it's some of these similar problems, right? You're trying to explain how to make a puzzle,
Yeah.
and you can't just have this random thing that you do to solve the puzzle, right? It just doesn't.
And how
But it
how
was
can you make
back
the
then?
user,
Nobody even complained about it back then. It's like,
No.
oh yeah, you got to use the bird and the rock and the.
and how can the user think what you're thinking, right? Because they bring your life experience into this. Oh, there's a bit of treasure. So we have some, we'll get this, some gold.
Didn't you know that birds are afraid of wands with a star on the end? Duh.
Like maybe if the rod had a picture of a bird on it, right? That could be a little bit of a hint. I don't. When you can't even look at inventory items to get descriptions, man.
Yeah, if it had like a little picture of a bird exploding or something.
Right, sure. That might,
Zizzy.
so if we do Zizzy, say Zizzy.
Zizzy. That is useless right now.
So it doesn't you have to, it doesn't work this far into the cave, but I think this Y21 does. Because there's a few secret
Oh,
code
this is the
words.
Y2 room here.
It says Y2.
This is one of the famous rooms.
This is a very famous room in gaming history, and we can look at the map and we can see, look at all these things. I love the little sketches again here of Y2.
Jumble.
Jumble of rocks. This says down, going downstairs. A tomb room. All kinds of things. If you wanted to save the game, you can save it. These are all the games, even from back when I was testing it, way back in like December of 2022. I mean, that was quite. And so there's a limited number of save slots, but I'll save over.
Do we know who drew those maps?
I don't. That's a great question.
I would
But
love
really.
that. Would surprise me if those were Roberto's.
Zizzy.
It could be. Oh,
Clue.
Clue.
Oh, what is Clue?
I think it transports you again.
You feel a strange pulling sensation.
Plug.
It transports you to the treasure room again, but you can use it to go back
You're back in the well house.
further in the cave. But Zizzy only takes you to the entrance, and you can't use it too far away from the entrance. So here, we're back where we started.
Bars of silver.
You didn't like Please Wait?
No, I didn't. I think seeing the
I don't-
loading screen just reminds me of all the early CD-ROM games where you're waiting forever for things to load. And I would rather it show a picture of a map or give weird facts about caves or do something, right, to distract
And
the
that would have been
player.
a perfect place to put in little factoids about
Little
the original.
jokes. So from the menu, we picked place, and we can see it's here on the table, the
And you
gold
got some
bars.
points too, I believe.
Right, and that's how you get the maximum points, is you bring all 20 treasures or whatever it is back to here. Now if we do
Clue.
clue, that'll warp us
You feel a strange pulling sensation.
again to and the loading times aren't bad.
You're back in the Y2 room.
In the beta version of the game, the loading times were kind of horrendous, so that's something they optimized.
And I agree. They could have put little hints or factoids about the game or something in there.
I think that it's just, yeah, at a certain time you have to, I've worked done some stuff for the game industry, and I've done more work in the software industry, but at a certain point you have to say ship it, right? You have to start cutting out features and just kind of get, at a certain point, good enough is good enough, and you have to start shipping stuff out the door. Sad to say.
Well, then too, those screens go by so quick.
Right. No, I mean, they've done a much better job at optimizing it. And I love what, so Jeff Green you had on Matt Chat recently, and he was an editor for Computer Gaming World and Gaming for Windows Magazine. And later on in his career, he did work for EA and I think Maxis on some of a Wii kind of Sims kind of side-scrolling game.
Kind of Sims action game.
So yeah, like a sim action game.
Skiing or something? I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyhow, or he did stuff with like mobile games, and when he got into development, it made him regret every time he wrote a computer game review and said like, gee, those people are so, I mean, I don't think he did this in his reviews, but there's certainly critics that still today say, gee, the game developers are so stupid, if only they would have done this. And the flip side of this, especially at larger companies is I'm sure they went through endless meetings of why this is a cool feature, but there's reasons why it can't be in the game. Or whether it's you have a tight deadline, or you don't have the resources, or people find it too confusing. I mean, so game design is hard, is what I'm trying to say, ultimately.
And it's not always clear to people, especially that have no design or development experience, like what things take a long time, like a cutscene where you're like a lot of custom animation with that snake and the bird and all that. I'm sure that took several days. at the
Yes,
leap.
and then not just that, you do the animation, and then you see it in the environment. So you have to change the lighting. Maybe you have collision issues. Maybe the bird is flying, clipping through the wall.
I wouldn't touch that.
It says
Could
I
get
wouldn't.
electrocuted.
I wouldn't touch that. I'd be electrocuted. Let's see if I can die.
I wouldn't touch that.
Nope, it does
You
not
could
let
get
you
electrocuted.
die. There are ways to die in the game. That is not one of them.
Yeah, that could be one limitation of this, because I remember, and I know you, Matt, love to do this more than anything when you're playing a game with a text parser. It's
Yes.
just type the craziest crap that anybody would ever type into a parser. And the
There's a
original game
threatening
would
dwarf.
occasionally
A
recognize
sharp
those.
knife is thrown.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Got you.
No! You have to be carrying an axe at all
Oh
times.
dear. You seem to have been ousted from your adventure. I might be able to help, but I've never really done this before. Do you want me to try and resurrect you?
Yes. So you get a certain amount of resurrections. It might affect your... It probably affects your
All
score.
right. But don't blame me if something goes wrong.
And again, this humor is nice. It's not much of it, but it's
Softens the
something.
blow a little bit, but
Softens the blow. I mean,
and
we're-
that's annoying.
but I mean, the Space Quest games were good at that in particular, right? Of softening the blow when you died. They'd have a good pun. Or Quest for Glory was good for that, right?
Yeah, it's so good that you actually wanted to see all the different ways you could die just to see those jokes.
That's right.
You feel a strange pulling sensation.
So we are going.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do with the dwarf?
So, because the
back in the
dwarf can
white
show up in
room.
almost any room, with the axe, if you have it as use, and you just start move around, as you can see, this axe is floating, that means if the dwarf shows up, you can kill him that immediate second.
Wow.
But if you don't do that, he'll kill you in one hit, and the casual mode just disables the dwarves altogether. It's in the text game, you can type in throw axe, and then you have to remember to pick up the axe every time, because the axe is embedded in the dwarf's chest.
Yeah, I'm not sure that makes the game more fun.
It's faithful, but right, Warren Spector had the saying, like, if it's realism versus fun, fun wins, right? How much of a real life simulation do you want to make this? Let's go down these steps. This is a bit laborious, but again, it's showing you this stuff because it's obviously first person, but it's even more so in the VR version, right? Because it's right against your head.
There are faint rustling noises from the dark.
I'd love to see it in the VR version.
Me too. Yeah, I think it would
behind
really
you?
add something. You can't hear it much because we're talking through this, but it has more atmospheric sound effects in this latest version of just steam or little water dripping. It gives a kind of a character to, so we can see we're going east. This is the dirty broken passage, and this is the bed quilt area. What could that mean? We'll have to see. Oh, and this is nice. You got these kind of trippy colors with the gems.
You're on the brink of a clean, climbable pit. A crawl leads west.
But again, the descriptions are faithful to a fault. It's so sparse that...
When he starts talking, does it freeze you, or can you keep
No, and that's... I don't know if I like that or if I don't. I think because when you play through the game a lot, it's nice to move while he's talking, but...
Oh.
That's fun. So things like this weren't in the original version, and that gives it a bit of extra nice visual, whether it's hints or atmosphere. It makes it less like you're in a damn cave the whole time, but it is called Cave Adventure. So let's explore a bit more. I can do this for a bit. I got about 10 more minutes left. I gotta go here. But are you finding this interesting? Because what do you think about this? Because you've played the original game, you've played your share of text adventures, and trying to make this into a graphical game is no mean feat, even though by today's standards it's a very simple game.
I go back to the original mission of Crowther, I guess Willie.
Yep.
He wanted to make a game where he could share this cave exploration experience with his kids, right?
Yeah, right.
I think this is He probably would have made something like this if he'd had the technology back then.
That's true. And look at this. I mean, there's good detail here. You can see the reflection of the lights is kind of casting on the walls.
Yeah, that looks really neat.
This looks really good. It didn't.
It is too big and heavy to carry.
So I cannot. I try to pick up the shell, and he says it is too big and heavy to carry, which is nice. If we keep, and yet there's a drawing of the shell, which is cool, and this is the shell room after all.
Guess
So
you
you
can cracks on that thing to crack it open.
Right. Oh, we can try that. Sure. I think maybe there's a pearl in there. Maybe that's the. It's been. I don't.
Dwarf's axe.
I had this game down pretty cold at one point.
The axe is too small to open this large clam.
Oh, you have to open it with something else. It says the axe is too small. Fair enough. But there is something, even though you're just in a cave collecting shit, there is something compelling about you just want to explore more of the cave and see what's in there. I think that's.
Even in that little thing that it told you, it's better than just, I don't know what you're talking about, or, I can't do that. I mean, at least
Right.
it gives you a reason why it didn't work.
Yeah, or I don't see that thing, or I don't. Right. It's.
What are you talking about, axe? What I'm carrying right now.
Yeah. Let's see here. So if we do Arts Hall, if I go. Let's see.
You know what I keep waiting for is, now that we have all this generative AI, I mean, you ought to be able to make a text parser that's out of this world good.
Yeah, I've seen it used for some simple games with ChatGPT or something where you say like make it where you're a knight and you have to use a sword to fight a dragon, and it can figure that out to some degree. But yeah, if you had it do a text parser, or what if you had a game? I mean, you could use AI for random generated games, right? For roguelike things, what would that be like?
I'm just mean like even simple things like that other game we were trying to open up the crate or open the grate.
Yes.
You ought to be able to put anything in there that's even remotely close to that concept, right? It should be able to figure out what you're trying to do.
I bet you can tell ChatGPT to make Colossal Cave Adventure or to play it, and it'll do it. And this is, look at all these magic mushrooms. This is kind of
Colossal
fun.
Caves. Yeah, they could have saved the stuff. Just go to ChatGPT. Swiss cheese room.
Swiss cheese room, and it looks like Swiss cheese.
It would have been. I mean, I didn't play the text game enough to really, have deep rooted memories of it. It would be fun to talk. I don't know about you. Maybe you do. But it would be fun to talk to somebody that, they
You're
played
at the
this
east
all the
end
time.
of a two-pit room. The floor here is littered with thin rock slabs,
Even
which
I
make it
bet-
easy to descend the pits.
If they
There is a
had,
path bypassing the pits to connect passages
Okay.
from the east and the west. There are holes all over, but there is a big one on the wall directly over the west pit, too high to reach.
This is a long-ass description.
but it's like when people read a novel and they picture characters and picture settings and things, and they see a movie.
Yes.
I bet
Right.
it's like them. I bet it's like that. Like, oh, that's not what the Swiss cheese room looks like. Like the Swiss cheese room looked like a line of text.
They showed the game to, I don't know if Willie is alive or at least one of the two guys is alive, and there's a story that Ken Roberta showed their new game or remake of it to them.
Oh, cool.
And they, early on in the initial feedback is like, oh, the river is on the wrong side. And the guy remembered that from this thing he coded, 30 plus years ago.
There is a threatening dwarf.
Oh, there you go.
A sharp knife is thrown.
No,
Move,
it gives you no
It
time.
missed.
Oh,
Dwarf's axe.
He missed.
You have attacked a little dwarf, but he has dodged out of the way.
He missed. So like, that's literally a split-second reaction, and I agree, that's not fun. But like, this is a puzzle where you get
Black brass bottle of water.
maybe this water works. You use water to get this, and it grows into a
Plant spurts into
here it
furious
goes
growth
into
for
a
few
beanstalk,
seconds.
Water.
and you have to give it more water to get it to grow higher. So I mean, it's a collectathon. There's some puzzles in here. There's the famous maze of twisty passages all alike, which is even more infuriating because of the with graphics, I think. But
That's one of my favorite books is Nick Montfort, Twisty Little Passage.
Yes. Yeah, no, I interviewed him for my my book, Simply the Best Interviews with Game Designers, Composers, and Scofflaws. And yeah, no, that book, I think that's the first gaming academic book I ever read, and there wasn't a lot back then. There still isn't a lot, there was more. But yeah, probably the first game studies book I read, and I was in the middle of a game design program at the time at Savannah College Art and Design.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the first ones I read that felt like it was written by a real gamer.
That's right. And it does feel academic, but also like it's not too dry. It's written in a compelling enough fashion, because some of these things are written where they're sort of stodgy, and you can tell it's written to be a textbook in some of these cases. But that one, it was, it flowed well from essay to essay.
And they start bringing in all the critical theory.
Yes. Right. Well, I think we have done a good job here looking at these colossal caves.
Yes.
What about, do you have any last questions for me, I guess? Having worked briefly in this game as a beta tester and closed.
Yeah, so did it come a long way during the beta testing?
It did, the loading times were bad. A lot of the bugs I submitted we just submitted bugs through email to the project manager, which I don't think was a great way to do it. In all honesty, I'm used to using something like a project management tool like Jira, where you're submitting tickets for these things. But anyhow, that's more of a process thing. There was a lot where like the sound, I tend to notice the sound bugs for whatever reason. So like the voiceovers would sound scratchy, or they'd be kind of muffled at certain points in the game. And so those were the kind of bugs I found. I didn't find it the game didn't crash a lot, but certainly it would kind of stutter and kind of glitch a bit. I wish in the options you could turn it to the 1.0 version, because you'd really appreciate all these extra details. Like it had mushrooms, but they weren't like phosphorescent like this, or you didn't have these little things floating around. And these little tiny details, I think, really, to the latest release of the game, just adds a lot of character to it.
It must have been such a different experience for them making this from like the heyday of Sierra when they had.
Of course, right. No, the team.
I mean, they were like the cutting edge of everything, right?
And that'd be a good point to end this on. Is let's go to the title screen, and look. Hopefully, this doesn't quit out of the game. I guess we'll find out. Main menu. I want to show you the credits to show you how few people worked on the game. And this is credited people. This isn't counting, and nothing against them, but this doesn't count closed and open beta testers and so forth. But if we go onto about the credits, it's really quite the skeleton crew. So you have executive producer Ken Williams. He also was the lead developer on this as the programmer, I believe. Produced by Roberta Williams, Marcus Mera. I never worked with that person, but that's cool. Creative director Roberta Williams, awesome. Original design, so the original two designers, there's Will Crowther and Don Woods. Art leads, so 3 people on art: Amber Johnson, James Carroll, Emily Compton. Artist, quite a bit more artist than you might have. So you had the art leads. That might mean they do more arts than the other people. It also means they might just manage and make sure people hit deadlines. But you have Christine, Ethan Vaughn, E. Wharton, Ruth. I don't need to read all these out loud, but this is,
a decent number.
Decent number. Lead engineers. So Ken Williams was the lead dev, and these are the other devs. I don't know what language this was coded. I know this was done in Unity, maybe, but don't quote me on that.
That's C#.
I think so. Oh, with the language itself, right?
I guess there's another language. What's that other language that Unity?
Python?
C#
No.
or something. Yeah, no.
Assembly? Fortran?
Sharp. I know there's at least one other option, but
sound, 4 people for sound. So again, they've added more credits to the game. The original version of the game that I did some testing on had maybe like 8 people that worked on it. It wasn't that many. So now they have, marketing. I mean, this game, they've done updates on this for a few years now. QA lead, QA.
It's not as small of a team as I thought it was.
No, but the original version was pretty small, but it goes to show, and this is the voice actors, right? Roberta Williams voices an elf at the end of the game. as does Daniel Perry. Jason Cryer is the narrator. They hired him based off recommendations of Space Quest historian, who you had on this show a while back. Public relation, Macintosh. That's right, it has a Macintosh version. So, SkyMap Games. I'm not sure what. I guess maybe they did one. I don't know how they're involved, but yeah, again, this is a lot more credits than what it originally shipped with. Special thanks to Metal Jesus Rocks.
Like
We know
Metal
him.
Jesus Rocks gets a credit.
Jeff Keighley gets a credit. Unity. Okay, so they did use Unity.
I wonder how active Metal Jesus Rocks was in this.
Well, he used to work for Sierra, remember?
Yeah, but I mean, did he have a
But-
lot to do with this game?
I would be skeptical, but I'm curious.
And there's your Unity. I wonder, is that people that make Unity? What is that?
Maybe they had people that were consultants that helped him with it. I think Unity is. I don't know, but yeah, and that's. I mean, yes, that's a fair amount more credits than I expected. But thanks for having me on again, Matt. This was it's been fun being a producer of this show for I think it's almost 2 years now or close to it.
First, we go back to the beginning.
Oh Jesus, yeah, Armchair Arcade. I was in college then, 2004, 2003, something like that. And we've never met in person yet, but I'm confident one day it'll happen.
Oh, we haven't met in person?
No. And
Ever?
Nope.
We gotta
fix that. And
gotta fix that.
I'm not drinking this, but I have this on my desk. The last beer I had in tradition of your show is a Guinness Extra Stout.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
And I got this from a market. It's the UK version that's imported, so it's different from the American Extra Stout. This has more flavors of date and fig. 5.6% alcohol value, so pretty low as far as that goes, but bold and bittersweet as the label goes.
Yeah, I never liked beer till I tried a Guinness.
Really, that was the one that turned
Because
you
that was
on
it.
to
You know, all anybody ever drank was like the Bud Lights and stuff like that. And just didn't
Yeah.
like the taste of it. But I liked when I tried a Guinness, I'm like, oh, finally. I was like, 19.
Right. No, I'm a big.
This is the first time I actually liked the taste of something.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. If you get out here to Portland, Oregon, there's a British pub called the Horse Brass that has a whole page full of
The
stouts.
horse
and porters.
ass.
Horse ass, yeah.
Horse ass.
Horse ass would be better named than Horse Brass, but it's This was a place that when they allowed smoking in there, it was notorious. It was like an opium den or something. You couldn't see your way 2 feet in front of you. And when Portland outlawed smoking in bars, the owner said, screw it, and allowed smoking for another week and was willing to pay the fines. So I'm not a smoker, but I respect that stick it to the man attitude.
Yeah, I can't. It's amazing to me they ever got that passed.
But
I guess it came down to the bartenders and the servers. Wasn't really kind of put them in like a hazardous occupation, I guess, or something.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. It's not unlike how people that work in nail salons are exposed to the chemicals or different sort of irritant. But all right, well, thanks so much for having me on to talk Colossal Cave. Anything we want to wrap up with, or?
No, just if anybody's got their own takes on the original game or the remake, I'd love to hear that. We could discuss it. Like to get someone. I'd like to hear from people that grew up and know this game by heart.
That'd be good. And you got me the idea, Matt. We're talking about potential guests. A lot of what I do as a producer is help book people on the show and help with the questions. I'll reach out to whichever of the original Colossal Cave designers are still around, because that'd be cool to get them on.
Oh, that would be historic.
Right? Historic. I mean, that's about as far back as you can get with adventure games.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other people related to this. I was in touch. I have emailed a few times with some of the Zork, the Infocom people.
They'd be good, sure.
I guess most of them are still around.
Yeah, or there's Brian Moriarty. Did you ever have him? He did Loom and some of the Infocom stuff. I think Enchanter.
One of the guys who worked on Zork, I can't think of his name.
Okay.
I just emailed him a few times back and forth. But that was before I was doing Matt Chat.
Oh, well, and you've had on someone that worked on Return to Zork. It's someone that we both know.
Oh, yeah. Who was that?
William. Damn, I did some writing for one of his iOS games. Oh, I'm embarrassed. I don't
Volk.
remember. William Volk. Yeah,
Yeah, real nice
Yep.
guy.
he's a real great guy. So anyhow, yeah, great to be on again, and happy to do this anytime you like. And I think maybe next time I'm on, why don't we get Becky Heineman back on? And because she was expressing a while back, we did the what was it, Task Times in Tone Town, and she was wanting. She brought up particular. She had some good stories about the Neuromancer game.
Yeah, we got to do that one.
So that'd be a fun one to do, because that's, if you want to talk about something hard to adapt into a game, that novel is pretty out there.
Well, I'll see.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Talk to you later. Thanks.
Talk to you later. Yep.
And that's all for this week's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Always a good time playing with a good old classic game like Colossal Cave or Advent. I've heard it called several different things, but this is one, if you talk to people of a certain age that had a computer, they probably played some version of this. And then, of course, there was Zork after that, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Planetfall. A lot of stuff was, exciting stuff was happening as early as the mid-70s in the computer gaming scene. So anyway, I thought that was a fun thing to check out. If you got suggestions for other games you want us to look at, ideas for guests, or whatever it is, please chime in the comments, and we'll take it into consideration, right? Always open to ideas. Also open to thanking you. Yes, you. Thank you very, very much for supporting Matt Chat. Your support is really important to keep these shows in production, be part of the community. We've got a great Discord channel. We've got audio podcast versions of the interviews and other episodes. Lots of fun extra stuff. Just go to that link in the show notes to the Patreon site. Only $1 will get you into the Ratron ranks. Very, very cool people, and we'd love to have you. But no matter whatever it is you do to support this show, even if it's just watching it, thank you very, very, very much for keeping Matt Chat going. All right, what about that news from the Matt Cave? Oh, what do we have? First up, I thought this was kind of neat. Boom! Amazon Prime Video has released a trailer for something called It's in the Game. Well, It's in the Game is about the NFL Madden series of football games, or Madden NFL. You know what I'm talking about. So that franchise is huge. It really paved the way for a lot of other stuff. Very influential. Made tons of money. So kind of basically elevated the whole video game industry to a whole new level. It was so amazingly successful. Of course, we talk about that in the book Vintage Games. But maybe you prefer to watch this docu-series from Amazon. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. They also mentioned that John Madden had a lot to do with the turducken. This is the chicken inside of a duck, inside of a turkey. And I don't know if I've ever had one. I'm trying to remember if I've ever had this. But anyway, apparently he had a lot to do with introducing that and keeping it popular. So if you're eating a turducken this Thanksgiving, you have to give a little shout out to the old John Madden for that pleasure. All right, next up, Microsoft has announced Microsoft Edge Game Assist, a new Edge-powered in-game browser overlay. So it doesn't sound all that exciting, but the cool thing is it's got some pretty cool potential things that might make games. My phone is going berserk here. Okay, so what it'll let you do, if it's a supported title like Baldur's Gate 3 or Diablo 4, Hellblade 2, you can get tips and guides for the game right during the game. And you can watch these videos to get an idea how this works. But you could be exploring a zone and with this overlay on, and if there's some tips or some material content related to that zone, it would just go ahead and pop up in the overlay, maybe give you some narration for that, maybe even show you how to navigate that part of the game. Now I'm thinking this would be a really good feature for people doing commentary, or maybe for walkthroughs, but I think especially like a developer insights kind of a thing. So imagine, I know there's other ways to go about this, but I like just the convenience of just being able to pop up this overlay and get the commentary, or maybe some tips or hints, right there without having to go to another site. Of course, probably not so great news for those sites that depend on people coming there to get through their advertisements. But anyway, take a look at this. Are you excited about it? Do you think it's maybe not as exciting as some of the rival products out there? Let me know. And then lastly, Mass Effect. It used to be a great series. I mean, I love the first game. I love the second game. I even like the third game, even though the ending, I won't get into all that. But I thought each one was fun in its own way. Now, Andromeda, well, there's that. Well, anyway, the Amazon is releasing a television show based on Mass Effect. They're going to have, let's see, I think it's BioWare's Mike Gamble will be the executive producer on it. They've got a guy named Daniel Casey as the writer, and apparently he did a movie called Fast and Furious 9. So I was looking into that, and it seemed like it kind of got mixed reviews, but I don't put too much weight into mainstream critics. But other people were saying it was tight, a lot of focus on the action, lots of good character dynamics in there, good plotting. So I don't know what I think. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm curious to know if what you think about this is something exciting. I mean, obviously, if they did it well, I think this could be huge. I mean, I love the stories, especially in those first two Mass Effect games. Probably number 2 is probably the classic one, right? So we'll see if it's going to be as good as that, or are they going to do something not so good. Just have to wait and see. Well, we don't know a lot about it, other than I guess Commander Shepard is going to be in there. That's a good first question, right? Which version of Commander Shepard are we going to get? Okay. Well, let's wrap it up with a quotation. And I was looking for quotes about discoveries and exploration, things relevant to Colossal Cave. And I found a quote by Marcel Proust that I thought fit the bill. So it goes something like this. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Yeah. So ponder on that, and I'll see you guys next time.
By the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.